We going to war?
Let's do it, right? Yeah. That makes me happy. Thank you.
So tell us who you are and the genre you write in, and anything you want us to know before we get started.
All right. So my name is Maurice Myers. I'm an author. I like to say I'm a poet who writes fantasy, because I started out doing poetry and performing poetry, and my first book was a poetry book. So
Mm,
that gave me the belief that I could write a book that was outside of my genre.
right.
So that is my main thing. Like I do write fantasy, I love fantasy, but I did not come into the game as like a full time fantasy reader. I
Mm,
jumped in head first, like, oh, I'm just gonna try this out and see what happens, and learned really quickly. you you gotta know how to swim before you jump into the 12 feet, you know. So I learned
yeah.
the hard way, but yeah. Since then, I've just been continuing to write. But my main thing that I also love to do is motivate everybody else to do.
Mm,
You know, I got a degree in broadcast journalism, so I'm always down to talk. I like to talk about things and just be in the mix. But one thing that I always want to do, now I'm 32, I'm older. One thing I want to do is leave a mark of positivity behind for when I'm no longer here.
yeah. Gotta make your mark. So let me ask you, who is Maurice Myers? What shaped your voice as a writer, and why fantasy? What's magical about your pen that mainstream might overlook?
Okay, well, Maurice Myers is a young man from the Bronx, New York, originally.
I could
Um,
tell.
you feel me? And we out here, my dad is from 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, the birthplace of hip hop. Okay, I
Mm,
grew up hearing that my whole life about DJ Kool Herc and all of them. So
mm,
I learned about lyricism early. That is what hip hop was about to me, words and how you told a story. The greatest artist of all time, hip hop artist of all time to me is Slick Rick because of how he told stories. And that is what influenced me to tell stories. So I started telling them through poetry.
mm,
Um, when I was younger, I would write horror in my composition notebooks. I would try out horror because I love horror,
mm,
Halloween, those kind of things. And it kind of was just something that I didn't think I would take seriously. Like I didn't think I would be an author. I just thought I was telling stories. So by the time I got to college, I'm at a HBCU, Lincoln University, and I'm performing poems and I'm making these stories up.
mm.
It started to just shape who I always been. Um, all the things that I've loved throughout my time, from wrestling to sports to horror to all of that. Yeah, I put it into one thing, and luckily, Finders Keepers is something that I did not get to write by myself. I wrote with my bro, my closest friend from college, Kawan. We wrote this together. We were roommates when we came up with the idea. His wife had to listen to us talk for hours about this nonsense, But all of those things shaped me into the writer that I am today, where I look at the magic like, okay, there is magic in these slums from I'm from the projects, the Bronx, like I'm from the quote unquote slums, and the magic that exists there is what gives my pen its life every time I'm in front of people or when I'm giving it out to the world.
Okay. So, as a black male author writing fantasies, especially one that dives deeply into blackness and original mythos, do you feel a certain pressure, or is it internal or external type of pressure to make sure that you come correct?
I'm gonna be very honest. Like I'm always thinking about making sure I come correct to my people. I never want the people to feel as if it's coming from a place of inauthenticity or that
Mm,
I'm just, putting on. So when I decided I was going to write in fantasy, um, I watched a lot of anime so I could understand, and I got into books different like Blood and Bones. I reread certain things just so I can get some type of understanding of what it's supposed to look like in this world. But when I'm talking to my people specifically, I always make sure that there's something rooted in something real. A lot of like even in Finders Keepers, you'll see the names Jemaya, Shango. These are things I grew up around. Like I grew up, I have family that practice Santeria, and I saw that in real life. That's not something that I had to really research. So I'm always looking to assert my presence in everything that I write, and also making sure that I do my people justice when they get the product.
mm. So, why young adult slash new adult fantasy? What makes it critical for young black readers to see themselves in epic and magical and transformative stories and roles like this?
Well, one thing is I used to be an educator. That was my first job, and it was the longest job I've had, working in schools, being a teacher, technology, and social emotional learning. And one thing you do realize is that the kids can't read.
Mm,
It's not their fault. It's not their job to teach themselves how to read, but the babies can't read. So
mm,
when we were teaching, one thing my brother and I were doing, Kawan, we were teachers at the same school. So we built a community in there. So we would get ideas from the kids on what certain things should look like and how it should feel, just so that we got their input and made them excited about reading. So
mm,
being around, and I only taught kids who look like me. I had a couple, a couple sprinkles in there, but most of my kids look like me. So
mm,
knowing, okay, no, if I write something, I want them to be able to read it. I want them to be able to understand it. Like as they get older, I want it to still be able to resonate with them too. I don't want it to be so like childish that they can't get it when they're 22, you know?
yeah.
So making sure that the kids that I, was there with every day, shout out to Devin, Jamir, all of y'all, those kids are able to, not kids, they men now, but those people are able to see themselves and know, okay, this is something I can actually relate to.
Mm. I love that. So, what are some rules in mainstream fantasy that you intentionally broke or will never follow, and why?
Okay. And I don't know if this is like everybody feels this way, but I was told this, okay? If you read Finders Keepers, The Age of Apophis, you've seen it is from the perspective of four different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that we should not do that. Um, I was told that that's a lot of story and different idea. This I'm just going off of what the people was trying to tell me in the beginning. So they were like, yeah, like maybe it should just be about Kane and Cairo, the two guys, and from there. But my main goal was I wanted the women to be represented in the book too. So because sometimes people ain't the guys are there, but they're like, well, where the girls, where the women at? What they doing? So I wanted to make sure every character, everybody could be, represented. So even we both did actually, not just me, but so when I heard that, I was like, wow, okay, so maybe we should do three, maybe we should do two, but it was just like, no, we're gonna tell the story the way we want to tell it. And as I continued on, I learned, oh, there are a lot of things that people are going to come and tell you, like, oh, yeah, you shouldn't do that because this person says, and this, that, and the third. And I think not knowing, being ignorant to a lot of things helped me just do things and then fix it afterwards. Like, oh, okay, well, this is how I probably should have did it then instead of just, not doing it at all, based off what they were saying.
I mean, I liked how you did it, and especially like the queen, she had like a softness, but she also had a stern, protective nature. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I honestly think when it comes to fantasy, people base shit off of white people.
Yes,
They
yes.
base it off of white storytelling that has no culture to it.
Mhm.
So when a black author comes in and writes a story that's based off of the culture, it is baffling to them because it doesn't follow that linear line
Right.
that everyone usually follows. Now you're going outside of the linear line. You're like doing a multi-dimensional
Uh-huh.
universe compared to the straight line that they're used. It's like point A, journey, in.
Yes. Yes.
So
Literally. Oh man. And I've had a lot of people give ideas and I love tips. I love help. Like I give motivational things on there. But I also look at it like ain't no one's writing the book that I'm writing or the book that we're writing. So I can't go off of everything else because I don't know everything. And I'm not trying to be stagnant because I learned too much and now I don't want to make a move.
yeah. So let's talk about your book. Um, what inspired this story, and what's the direct messaging and wisdom behind the journey that they're on?
Okay, so what inspired it truly was me and the other writer, Kawan. We were going back to the crib one day, and it was just a conversation where it was like, I want to write something with like superpowers and things like that. It started very surface level of I want to create superheroes. Like I ain't never did that, so let's make it happen. And it was like you got your best friend with you. You could just say, yeah, let's do that crazy idea.
Yeah.
So it was a comic book. It was going to be a Netflix series. We like 25, 23. So, your ideas are up in the sky. And it's like, I'm going to do
Mhm.
this and we going to make a movie and all of that. And as we were building and creating, the story started to come alive because real quick, we tried to do it where it was one main character and we both just poured into that character. And that didn't work because it's two of us. Okay, so
Mhm.
I'm a Sag, he's a Leo, so there was a lot of
Oh
fire
shit,
sign energy going on where
I'm a
it's like,
Leo too.
you get it. we need our own characters. So let's just say we did that. And throughout it though, one thing I wanted to make clear, I have a little brother. We're 6 years apart. I wanted there to be brotherhood in the story. I didn't
Hmm.
want brothers who hated each other, brothers who were jealous of each other, that kind of thing. I wanted there to truly be brotherhood seen because when it comes to me and my bro, that's the energy it is. It's no, we don't hate on each other. We're always building each other up. And then when it comes to like, my closest friends, that's how we operate. So that was one message that needed to be seen. But the main thing was how generational curses can affect you on your journey. So
Hmm.
when you're reading it, a lot of stuff that's going on has a lot to do with the adults, not so much
Hmm.
the people who are the main characters. They are just a recipient of everything going on.
Yeah.
So that experience when you're growing and you're trying to be your best self and you got a ancient auntie, everybody got one. So you got parents who may not be the best or you have friends who are experiencing things in their home from the adults they're around that affect you. So really just grasping how these things affect people and how you maneuver through them, because
Mm.
we have to find ways like that. We call it finders keepers because we say we put gems inside and what you find you can keep. Those are your gems.
I can see that. This is, to me, this book is really good for young black men and women to read this story and really find themselves in the characters and the journey that they're on. Even finding, um, common ground with adults being children. They're acting like children, and greed and power over the love and sanctity of who they are. You know, so I think this is a really good book that needs to be like in schools. It needs to be in libraries because this is something kids should read.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, in your view, what burdens does the publishing industry, indie or traditional, place on black authors in the fantasy genre, you think?
Mm, okay. I think that the idea, I look at it like a hip hop, if I can, from the Bronx, but if I could
Mhm.
relate it to that, Eminem is the greatest selling hip hop artist of all time. And this does not take away from any of Eminem's greatness. Eminem is one of the dopest MCs in the world. But there are other dope MCs. There are doper MCs than him. He will tell you that himself, those who came before and after.
Mhm.
But he will always be the greatest because white people can relate to him.
Mm.
It's just what it's going to be. And it's not a thing to say that, oh, black authors don't get recognized, but because you can't look at my cover and relate to those characters, you're not going to see it as fantasy. Like, the first thing a lot of people ask me is like, oh, okay, so it's like urban fantasy, huh? And it's like, no, no, I don't. And I'm not against, shout out to urban fantasy. I think it's beautiful, but that's not what I'm writing in the first
Yeah.
place. That's where you would want to put me. So that burden of trying to be relatable to people who look at you and just won't see themselves, that's a real burden that is kind of hard to fight through sometimes.
Mm. The ancestral stories from both the African and African American aspect and traditions are very rich between the both. What do you think non-black readers can take away from these stories when they're told with and when they're told and they're authentic?
Mm. Um, Truthfully, one, a good story.
Mm-hmm.
I think a great story, like when you take our traditional stories from the past and mythos and things of that nature, those stories are actually very fun and intriguing. So when
Mm-hmm.
you bring them to light, you do get a good story. But I also think understanding that our voices are not as foreign as you think they are. Uh,
Right.
the idea that we do speak another language amongst ourselves, and even in public, we do speak another language. But when we are writing, when most black writers are writing, they don't have the luxury to not think about the white reader.
Mm.
We have to think about you. So since we have to think about you, understand that when you're reading our books, we thought about you. Even if you're not in it, we had to think about it. That was a conscious decision we had to make to not put you in it. So just pay attention and know that, okay, even if it's not for me, they thought about me somewhere in this story. And when you see yourself, just acknowledge that, because that means they thought about it. They were intentional.
Mm. So, in Finders Keeper, protection and loyalty are major themes.
Mhm.
So, how does this tie into your own definition of manhood, integrity, and being a whole man in general?
Mm. Protection and loyalty is like the key. That should be the core of every man, in my understanding. Like, and how you protect and how you're loyal can look different from man to man. So some men will have the finances to protect you and be loyal to you. Some men gonna have the brawn strength to be able to protect you and be loyal to you. But using those key understandings is to push that to young men at all times. That you need to be protective. You need to be loyal, and that's not just to, oh, I'm loyal to the gang, I'm loyal to the squad. It's like,
Yeah.
no, bro, you need to be loyal to your siblings, you need to be loyal to your girl or whoever you dating. You need to be loyal to everybody that you consider close, and you need to protect what's yours, because
Mm.
we don't. And when I say we, I don't just mean like, oh, young black men, we don't. No, 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 no. I give us way more grace than that and credit than that. But when I say we don't, I mean it's very easy for us to get caught up in that, where we're not protecting our queens because we mad at the queen we got in our life at this moment. You know, we're not loyal to our people because some of our people did us dirty, and we looking at our people a certain kind of way. You gotta still have that even on them bad days. So keeping that core value of protectiveness and loyalty is something that I always want to be pushing.
Okay. Do you believe the industry still operates under the old discriminatory practices, even if it's unintentionally, that block black success in the literary world?
Of course.
Why?
I think truly, I like to say we just started learning how to respect women yesterday, and we're still figuring it out.
Mm.
So, with that being said, there are certain things that are just not going to be like, oh yeah, it's better now because they did this. It's like, okay, well, you were an abusive parent. You didn't beat your kid on Thursday, but you still beat him every other day. Glad they had Thursday off, but please, like, we would prefer more days off or none. So I do believe that it's there because those people still exist. The higher ups who may have put some of that stuff in place are still alive and still active. Look at our government. That's how that works.
Yeah.
So I think it is definitely there. I think there are strives to make it better because there's more of us with a voice than there have ever been.
Right.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that. Um, what's your ultimate goal in choosing fantasy as your lane of storytelling?
Truth be told, I just want people to have a good world to escape to and have fun with these characters and get to know themselves in the process and get to know who they are. I am big on, like, everything to me is about a movement and revolution and being the best. But I also believe that there should be levity in life. Like, I shouldn't have to go everywhere and feel the struggle of oppression. You know,
Mm.
fantasy allows that, where you can have fun and you can be, magical, have powers, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna get an animal, I'm gonna be a little Pokemon kind of thing. You can do that there. So I
Yeah.
enjoy where sometimes the bills and the health and the life and the parents and like all of that, it gets messy, and it's like in my fantasy world is peace. So
Mm. So world building, that shit is a beast. The world building is a beast. How did you craft your worlds and its many like tribes without the world feeling repetitive or losing its distinct cultural texture?
um really, each tribe was a borough from New York.
What
And
the?
okay, that's how we broke it up in the beginning. It was a different borough from New York. So my writing partner, he's from Delaware.
Mm.
So I was but he's met New Yorkers obviously, but it was like breaking down how each borough, quote unquote, would act.
Mm.
Using that to break up what type of, what we could stereotype them as or how we can make them look in their traits and things like that. So understanding that, me being from the Bronx, I understand Harlem dudes are way different than us. Queens
Mm-hmm.
dudes are way different than us. But when we leave New York, we just New York dudes to everybody. Like we
Yeah.
not our borough, we just the city. So I know that there's diversity in things that look like the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we were able to maneuver that.
So you depict a society where um, division of beliefs fractured the peace.
Hmm.
How much of our real world did you bake into that conflict?
Oh man. Originally, when we first did this back in 2016, when we started,
Mm-hmm.
uh, one of the main villains' name was Ronald Trump, because this was at the time that a specific election had happened and things got a little, intense is a good word to say. So it
Yeah.
was first time we went through that. So it kind of was like you could just feel it in the air in the world. And I was teaching at that time, so you have to go back into the classroom with the kids who kind of understand but don't really understand what's going on and why adults feel the way they feel.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of debate, and even with teachers who kind of, they don't want to say anything because they know who they may have voted, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it definitely came from a real place. And then, I'll be honest, just being black, and then when you start paying attention to black history, the real history, not conspiracies and not textbooks of social studies class, you
Mm-hmm.
start learning your real history, you have endless amount of division to pick from, honestly.
True.
Okay.
True. So the overuse of power and turning people almost, I guess, reptilian.
Hmm.
Um, it was kind of like metaphorical. Like
Hmm.
it was real, not the reptilian part,
Right, right.
but it was real. Was that a commentary on addiction, greed, and self destruction?
Literally that. Yes.
Ooh.
That you got you. That's it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Let
No,
me pat
seriously.
myself on the back. I
You
got
got to.
it.
You got. I don't want, and that's another thing. I don't want the message hidden. Like I want you to read it and kind of be like, I think that's what they're talking about. Not so much that we telling you that, but
Yeah.
enough that you can gather it the way you did, and just
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
you read
So
that book. All right.
look, I live and breathe literature, so it's just like when I be interviewing people, I really be reading y'all books. I might not take it the way somebody else take it, but I'm more of a very analytical person.
Yeah.
So
Tell about your
my
question.
mind is constantly
Hmm.
this. So I have a million and one questions. Hence the
Okay.
podcast.
I'll take it. I love this.
So why the term ascension? What does it mean to you spiritually, culturally, and narratively?
Ascension specifically to me is when you go to the next level. Okay.
Mm,
So I believe in, a lot of spiritual things because I've just seen a lot. I grew up Catholic, but I've seen a lot of other spiritual aspects of the world.
mm,
So ascension has always meant going to the other realm, the
mm.
higher plane. And I look at that as the highest form of being. There might be higher planes above that. I'm not sure. But understanding that when you ascend, you reach that next level, that was the main goal in putting that in
I'm gonna tell you right now. I was so mad that book was so short.
there.
I was like 140 pages. Get the fuck, cause it was like, all right,
Yeah, I love it.
because it was like y'all told a massive story in a short period, and then I'm like, okay, where's the second book?
Can I speak to that? Can I speak to that?
No, I planned on asking you, but that was the next question. Where the second book?
Well, as of actually last night, we have officially come up with we have our cover.
Mm-hmm.
And next, so I'll be revealing that after this interview. I'll be putting it up for everybody to see.
Right.
But the book will be released on July 13th. So it's coming.
Yo, thank you, God.
It's coming. It's
Because
coming. July
I know
13th,
it takes a
baby.
long time to build up y'all worlds with fantasy books, but shit.
Let me listen, man. If I could, let me tell you. Let me show you something really quickly, if I can. But
Mm-hmm.
this is the original Finders Keepers. This big old textbook.
So why I get 140 pages?
Let me tell you what. Can I tell you what happened, bro?
Yeah, but you got some explaining to do there, Lucy.
Let me tell you what happened. All right, so real talk. We wrote the book, and we wrote over 500 pages. We went hard. It was years of work.
Right.
And when we did it, we got that big old textbook. So when we got it, we was like, man, we want a book. Like, we don't want people to have to hold, like,
Yeah, yeah.
so we tried to make it smaller. And then we made it smaller. And then Amazon was like, you can't do that. That's too many pages. You're wild.
How many pages was it?
It was over 1,000. It was over 1,000.
War and Peace? What the?
so
Wait a minute.
we wrote a Bible.
Ooh.
We call it a Bible all the time because there's so many pages. But we was wilding. So from there, we went ahead. Oh, hold on, sorry. Well, from there, we went ahead and we wrote. We said we got to break this book up into three, make it a trilogy. So what
Okay.
we did was broke it the first half down, and that is book one that everybody did get. So yeah, it wasn't that intentional to write such a short book, but once we did it, it was just like it's an easy read. So that was kind of the selling point with kids, with people younger. It's like, yo, it's only this much, bro. You got this, and it's and the third.
Yeah.
We just need you to get invested a little bit, and then we give you the big book that you want so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah. But still, I need book two.
I got you. I got you. I got you. That you put fire in my heart. So
Okay, let me ask this: are you gonna widen the universe, or are we gonna still be in that space?
we always intend to widen the universe. Like my intention, honestly, is always to build on everything. So I love horror. I want to write a horror story one day.
Ooh.
I don't want to have to build another. I want to be able to go into my universes and just write whatever stories I want to write, and they can all be interrelated so that I'm always in my world.
That'll be dope because I mean you got some key elements already there with the horror, but some of the freaking tribes and shit, the magic and shit that's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying I'm for it. I love that. Okay, you just said something about horror. Is there any other genres like you're just wanting to explore that are creatively just calling you?
Oh man. I feel weird about saying it, but I really want to write like I feel like everything has comedy in it, right? So, but I want to write something comedic. Like I want to
Like a rom com?
something story wise, just something. I ain't never wrote a romance novel, and I like, since I've been on Booktalk, it's like I feel like now I'm playing myself not doing it because it's so bad, like
Honestly, it's not enough black male authors writing romance.
what do you think of that? Why do you think we don't do that too much?
I think it's the stereotypes.
Okay.
I feel like men, no offense, but I think men are intimidated that romance is ran predominantly by women, and the ones that write it really well are black women. And so I think at times men get intimidated by the fact that these women are making six figures. These women have like 50 million books out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they take that to heart and let it get into their head. So they'll stick with like genres like street lit, and I love street lit.
Yeah.
And they'll stick with genres that are comfortable. They don't get out their comfort zone.
Right.
So I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I would hope that any author that's out would at least once dive into a genre that makes them uncomfortable, because that uncomfortable genre might be the exact genre you need to be in.
I ain't gonna lie, you might be right. I'm never in the fantasy world, like in the we do little hints at romance and things like that. but it's still I can go back to like I love the gore and violence and stuff, so I want to see
Mhm.
all that. Like in fantasy, not romance. We don't want to see violence there. But because I love all that, I could lean on it. I could lean on violence, but romance requires me to lean on my heart a little bit more.
But what's
And
your definition of romance? See, that's the thing, and I think this is where y'all get tripped up at.
yeah,
Romance to you may look like a romance novel written by a woman that has sex and just this relationship is just
yeah,
chemistry boom. But actually, romance is more mental.
hmm,
So if you're writing a book based off of what you assume romances will be, it don't have it could be insinuated. You know, it doesn't have to be on the pages. Cause honestly, when I read a fantasy book, I never go in there thinking, "Oh yeah, they about to fuck," and
yeah, right,
I
right,
don't never go in there thinking that. What I think is, okay, this world is built. I'm looking forward to seeing what the characters' powers are, the journey they're about to go on. That's what I'm thinking. I think too many people get wrapped up on the fact that they think romance is just about sex.
yeah,
I've read books where, like you was talking about poetry.
hmm,
There's a book called Damien's Windsor, and
okay,
she is a poet, but she wrote a romance. It does have sex in it, but the sex is not even the thing that catches your attention.
right,
It's more poetic. It's more mental. It's
mm,
more of a Love Jones type feel. So, and it's deep. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be physical. It could be mental.
And I'm gonna be honest. I thought for a while, I thought romance novels was like the John from back in the day.
Oh, not
Uh,
Harlequin.
just real, yeah. You get it. You just real boring and real like. Oh, he saw her. She took her glasses off and took her ponytail out, like that kind of thing. But then I got here and I'm like, oh, so all y'all just reading porn? Is that what's happening around here? Like, oh, okay, so no. But like you said, there are different variations of it. So I can see it. Like, you know what? I will challenge myself to do it because you said this because I never thought about it. Like, could
Yeah,
I?
you have to come at it from what you comfortable with, what you know. You know what I'm saying? What is how do you really make love to a woman? It
Mm-hmm.
ain't physical, it's mental.
Everything is in mind.
So if you are writing a romance and you literally are basically talking her through it into romance,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be physical. That's just an added bonus. If you choose in the end after you write that down and say, okay, now I want a sex scene, but you done laid the groundwork mentally.
That's it. What? Because I feel like I would have to figure out the goal. Like, all right, when I write fantasy and I know the stories I want to tell, I know what message I'm pushing. I feel like with romance, it wouldn't more so be a message. It would more so just be
Why
to.
not?
I don't know what message I. You know what? I don't.
You
I've never
just you
thought
just
about it.
said that men be fucking up when it comes to their queens.
That's a fact. That's
How
damn right.
how how do you word that so the message comes across to value that woman?
Mm, okay. 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 See, this is the queens. This is why y'all. You don't think like this without y'all.
But yeah,
Maybe. Maybe.
you don't have to go to no extreme. It's just the wordplay. Because I could read a book and they could be talking about sex and I could be bored as fuck.
That's
But
a
then I can read a book that's mentally just stimulating. I'm like, damn, this is the best goddamn romance book I ever read.
I could go with that.
Don't overthink it, bro.
I'm not. I'm not. You got my mind spinning, but thank you.
So, what advice would you give to new fantasy authors that are trying to break into the genre without losing their voice?
Realistically, you just have to do it. Don't ask for nobody's permission. Ask for all the forgiveness later. Okay, uh, do it because a lot of times you're trying to get it right. You want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure it looks right. It's professional. It's this, that, and the third. Like I always call it the Shakespearean style, like the style that's in schools. But a lot of us is not going to do that on our first book. It's just not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. So you have to do it because you might get it right on your second, your sixth, your 12th.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, if you are saying, I need to get into fantasy, I want to do this, just do it. Stop waiting for somebody to give you permission.
Yeah, I get that. So, where can we buy your books, support you, and stay connected?
Okay, so you can always stay connected with me here, obviously, on TikTok. The author Maurice Myers. You can find me on Instagram, Maurice underscore the author. You can buy my books over on Amazon, Maurice Myers. Now I know how some people feel about Amazon, but this was literally how we started, so they're all there.
Hmm.
But all my books, Maurice Myers, you'll see the experiment. Excuse me, finders keepers, the age of a prophet, the experiment two. Again, Maurice Myers with Myers. It's no two E's in Myers. Sorry to all those others Myers, but that's where you'll be able to find me on again Amazon as well. The books are the author Maurice Myers and Maurice the author on Instagram.
Okay. Are you gonna do any book signings, expos, events we should
Yes,
pull up
yes.
to?
I'm glad you even brought this up because August 2nd, in Delaware, Route 9 Library, we will be
Mhm.
having our book signing from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'll be putting up more flyers and things later, but we will be having a book signing up in Delaware.
Mhm.
More to come. Last year we did Delaware, we did Jersey, we did New York. So we was out here. So I want to do this again another summer. We're going on tour, just signing books and showing people love.
Okay. Because I hope you intend to come to the Boozy Book Tour in 2027 in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
We're doing the Haunted Mansion Fantasy Masquerade Ball, which will be all black authors in horror, paranormal, fantasy, romantasy, sci-fi, Afrofuturism, comics, and anime.
I'm pulling up. I
We
got you.
all we have 75 slots. The applications, I don't even
Oh,
know why I keep calling them applications. The form opens October 28th.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay. I'll be listen. I'll sign. I'm writing Decatur, so I ain't nothing to get to Savannah. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be at the Andes Savannah Hyatt,
Okay.
right off the water.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know, right?
See y'all.
Yeah, we just need a big space because it's a lot of authors.
Yes, that's what I'm learning. There's mad of us out here. It's just you don't realize it till you get these spaces to be able, like somebody like you who gives us our opportunity to even talk to other people.
I
Like
mean, I think in the bigger scheme of things with me is I want every author to succeed. It's only on you to see how far you gonna go. If I can give space to that, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's one person on the live. I could put it up on my YouTube channel and somebody can be like, "Oh, I saw it on your YouTube channel. I'm finna go purchase that author's book."
right.
You know what I'm saying? The point is getting y'all voices out there because a lot of people take y'all books and think they know y'all
Hmm.
and they don't. And sometimes they just don't have the chance to even ask y'all questions.
Right.
So I'm trying to ask as many questions as possible. So when they do go on YouTube, they can be like, "Oh snap! Let me get that book."
Yeah. Word.
So with that being said, I'm gonna do my outro and I'm gonna let you go because usually I do my little housekeeping, but I'm starting to like get hungry again.
It's after 8, okay? You it's all right. It ain't nothing wrong with it. We grown.
So
Right?
this was more than a conversation. It was a decoding of spirit and storytelling. Maurice Myers isn't just building fantasy worlds, he's leaving maps for young black minds to find themselves. So whether you're dreaming big, writing wild, or ascending to your own higher purpose, remember our myths matter, our stories are sacred, and our magic is real. So stay love, stay loud, and stay black on motherfucking purpose.
Right. That's right. Shout out to it. Thank you, Queen. I love you,
You are
man.
welcome. And I'll be looking for book two.
You gonna be the first
Um,
person I hit. Don't worry. July 13th, 2025.
as
You
soon
gonna
as
see.
that drop, that way I can buy both books and put it on the shelf.
That's right. Oh, we gonna get on the shelf. Let's go.
Cause all of that right there and that
Word.
has fantasy and paranormal and shit.
I want to be amongst greatness. So there you go.
And you need to do some book boxes.
We need to talk after this, okay? Because I need, I
Well,
need,
maybe I do need to do the housekeeping shit.
we need to talk,
All right,
okay?
all right. Wait, you got a pen and paper?
Pen and paper. Damn it. Not on me now. Let me hold up. Got a pen. What's that? I got me some paper. What's up?
All right.